right, what's up everybody? Thanks so much for joining us. Now we'll go ahead and get started here in just a moment, but first we will do our nightly audio and visual check. So if you guys can hear us and if you can see the stream in 1080p, also go ahead and refresh the web browser because you should be able to rewind. Just enable the DVR, so if everything's working, just give a thumbs up and we'll kick this off in a second. Thanks for joining. All right, everybody, I think we'll go ahead and get started here. Okay. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Walks and Wall Street. Today is Tuesday, May 28th, 2024. It is about 9:17 p.m. Eastern Time, and we are reporting live directly outside of one of our favorite buildings here. This is 432 Park Avenue. Now, as I point the camera towards the sky, you can see a little bit of the building. It is a massive super tall. This is one of the most iconic buildings on New York City's Billionaires Row, as you know. It's close to the office. It's on the east side, right on Park Avenue. It's what we like. All good stuff. The weather's beautiful and gorgeous in New York for once, unlike yesterday. So I think today is going to be an appropriate day to check out the east side. So we'll go ahead and kick the stream off by walking towards Sutton Place. Oftentimes we talk about Sutton Place as taking a little bit of a beating in terms of valuations, particularly as it relates to its co-ops. But it's a very beautiful neighborhood. We'll take a walk on the park and then we'll head back to 34th Street. Now, today was a pretty volatile day in the financial markets, but nothing too out of the ordinary. If we look at the S&P 500, ticker symbol SPX, we closed pretty much flat. We were up 1 point. Trading at 5,306. Take a look at the DJI, the ticker symbol for the Dow Jones Industrial Average, or the Dow 30. The Dow was pretty much flat, down 0.5 percentage point, or 216 points. And then we'll take a look at the NASDAQ 100, the very tech-heavy NASDAQ. That was up about 61 points, trading at 18,869. Now, if we take a look at the CBOE Volatility Index, or the VIX, the VIX was up a little bit today, up about 5%. Intraday, the VIX got all the way up to about 13. Hold on one second. Got to make sure I... Got to put on my do not disturb. It's weird. I did put on my do not disturb mode, but I am getting phone calls, which is strange. Anyway, VIX well off of its highs, which is good. back down below 19. And then we have some notable earnings that were out today. So Cava, ticker symbol CAVA, reported earnings today, which was a pretty impressive earnings report, not gonna lie. Now, I think initially on the report, the stock was down like 6%. I think it's down like 3% after hours. Now, it does trade at a pretty lofty valuation, but it is in growth mode. This is a newer IPO or a newer issue. But the good thing about this is what you call a beat and raise earnings report. And we talk about beat and raise quarters quite often here. So Cava beat both on the top and the bottom line, both on revenue and on EPS. And they've raised their forward guidance. So if we scroll down, since I'm near my computer, what I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and put the earnings deck in the chat here. So if you see my name highlighted, Walks Wall Street, you can kind of check out the earnings deck for yourself. And you could look at the prior guidance, and then you could look at the revised guidance. And this is going to be on slide 9 if you want to follow along. Once again, slide 9 out of 11. So the prior guidance for the fiscal year in terms of net new restaurant openings, it was 48 to 52. They've revised that higher now to 50 to 54 new restaurants opening. For same-store restaurant sales growth, the prior guidance was about 3% to 5%. They have raised that guidance to 4.5% to 6.5%. Now, to restaurant level profit margins, the prior guidance was 22.7 to 23.3%. They've raised that forward guidance to 23%, or 23.7% to 24.3%. And then pre-operating costs, that has been revised up as well from 12 million to 13 million, and then adjusted EBITDA has been revised up from 86 to 92 million. It has been revised up to 100 to 105 million in adjusted EBITDA. So an interesting company. This is what I'm following. I'm not recommending to buy it, not recommending to sell it. I just think it's a pretty interesting company, and we'll see if it can sort of model the growth trajectory of some of the other fast casual restaurants out there. Should be interesting to see. It's a pretty well-run company. Margins are great. Same-store sales are good. Yeah, but they are raising prices. All right, guys, let me go ahead and close up the laptop. I'll say hello to everybody in the chat, and we'll get started here in a moment. Thanks so much for joining us. Also, a lot of merger news. T-Mobile apparently going to be buying U.S. Cellular. We'll talk about that. All right, let me just clip my microphone on here. Let me remember to turn off the Wi-Fi. All right, cool. Let's get started, guys. Let's head to the east side. I see Shannon. What's going on? Always a pleasure to see you. Hey, Esteban, I saw you earlier today. Always a pleasure. I see JY, Hawaii. Always a pleasure. Tim, since it's NVIDIA's world, we're just living in it. Davio Zip, what's going on from the Gold Coast? Now, here's an interesting thing about the price action in NVIDIA today. This is the third consecutive day it's been gapping higher. I think that's actually probably an exhaustion gap. So I wouldn't be surprised if it comes back down to fill those gaps. This is kind of what you see at the tail end of a move here. You have these little kind of putt-putt exhaustion gaps. And you also see that at the end of a move to the downside too. When things are the most fearful and you have the most, I should say, dramatic price action to the downside, you'll see this big crescendo. It's really called a climax, like waterfall style sell-off, where you'll have 3 or 4 days in a row where the stock will continuously gap down on big volume, and that can potentially signal a bottom, right? It's like that big waterfall kind of crescendo sell-off. I'm seeing the same thing, and again, this doesn't mean it's going to happen, but you're kind of seeing the same thing in NVIDIA right now, but on the upside, right? Constantly gapping up. Those gaps are usually what you call exhaustion gaps. Now, again, not saying that has to happen, right? Nothing has to happen, but just be cautious out there. Hey, Gary Carpenter, Brian Forrest, good to see you. It's a beautiful night in New York. Look at this shot looking down Park Avenue. You're looking towards the MetLife building. You're looking at 270 Park. Just a beautiful night. Now, it's funny because yesterday was Memorial Day. Hopefully everybody had a great Memorial Day weekend, by the way. And it was beautiful on Friday, it was beautiful on Saturday, beautiful on Sunday, raining all day Monday, right, for Memorial Day. And then Tuesday, which is today, pretty nice, pretty nice. Picture perfect weather as we're looking at 432 Park. Let's go ahead and head north, and then we'll head over to the east side. Hey, Spencer says hello, Tom, from the San Francisco Bay Area. Kimberly is here. AL says hello from Morocco. RB, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. Oh, Wise Owl, welcome. Excuse my voice tonight. It is extremely, the allergies are crazy here today. When I was walking outside the office, hold on, here's a pretty good shot of the Four Seasons Hotel that's set to reopen again. City looks great tonight with all these scattered clouds here. But you could quite literally see the pollen in the air today. It was, oh my gosh, it was getting me acting up like crazy. I was sneezing. So I'm may sound a little bit nasally tonight. Anyway, hey D, what's going on? Good to see you. Let's head over towards the east side. I think I want to take a walk on that park, the elevated East River Park, which kind of resembles the, what do you call it, the High Line a little bit, which is great. Now, there is some news that came out that says T-Mobile is going to buy US Cellular, or at least a part of the business, part of the company. Now, that's interesting because I actually used to work at T-Mobile back in the day. I was a legacy Sprint employee. This was when SoftBank made a pretty big investment in Sprint. For those of you who don't know SoftBank, CEO is Masa-san, or Masayoshi Son. And they made a huge, huge investment into, at the time, the telecom company was called Sprint. Wasn't really doing too good. They were actually taking the appropriate steps to turning it around. Sprint was really a massive wireline business. They had a huge, huge wireline business, but they also had a lot of mid-band spectrum, which just so happens to be the perfect spectrum to build out a robust 5G network. So T-Mobile acquired Sprint. Obviously, it was considered a merger, but it was really just T-Mobile kind of, taking them over, in my opinion. And during that merger, a lot of legacy Sprint people left and went to US Cellular. So it's quite interesting now that T-Mobile is essentially going to buy US Cellular now. Now, there was this other MVNO, which I believe we talked about, if I'm not mistaken, a celebrity, like a really, really, I think like an A-list, well-known celebrity, Ryan Reynolds, owned a pretty big stake in the company, Mint Mobile. Now, Mint Mobile is in what you call an MVNO, right? Which is essentially like a discount telecom retailer, which will sublease off all the different carriers, right? So one of the reasons why they're able to be so cheap and so price competitive is because they'll essentially contract with all of the different carriers, but they're deprioritized on the network. So if you're not doing anything major like live streaming or anything like that, anything too internet intensive, it's actually a pretty good deal. Those types of MVNO companies like Mint Mobile. T-Mobile bought them too. So it's interesting to see all these plays by our good friends at T-Mobile. Hey, Ren1018 says, Tom, do you remember Nextel? They had that walkie-talkie feature. Yeah, so I don't personally remember it, but I used to work with a lot of, again, legacy Sprint people, and they were legacy Nextel employees. Right, that was another botched merger, that Sprint Nextel. And that walkie-talkie feature, I believe, was called Direct Connect. The Direct Connect little chirp phones. Now, Nextel had a huge, I mean, they had the market, right? They had all of the market share in pretty much construction, heavy equipment, really any industrial company. Pretty much everybody used Nextel on those little chirp phones, the Direct Connects. But I think once they did the merger, that whole network went away and they lost a lot of customers. It was like really, really bad integration. So it's funny you bring that up. So I don't personally remember it because I'm a little bit too young for that, but a lot of my old coworkers were literally on the ground floor, you know, in corporate sales, like enterprise sales back in the day, selling Direct Connect, which is kind of crazy to, you know, think back on how technology has progressed. Oh, Wise House says, I love T-Mobile. Who remembers John Legere? Anybody remember John Legere, who took over as CEO of T-Mobile and really turned that company around? Really good CEO. Really, really good CEO. Anyway, here we have our good friend Bloomberg. We're standing directly outside the Bloomberg headquarters here in New York City. Beautiful building. Adam says T-Mobile since the early days, they peaked at the Sidekick. Aren't they trying to bring back that Motorola Razr device? I am old enough to remember that. The Motorola Razr. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see a lot of the consolidation in the telecom industry now. If I had to, you know, throw out a name, who I think is going to be, well, who has the best shot at actually building out a robust, true 5G network? It's T-Mobile. It's T-Mobile. Mainly because, you know, that merger positioned them quite well. You know, they have a lot of that lucrative spectrum, and AT&T is going to have to play catch up because they're going to have to go out into the open market at those spectrum auctions and go ahead and buy spectrum, right? So the government has these things called spectrum auctions, and it is very, very expensive. And I think that's one thing that is kind of weighing down on AT&T stock, is just I don't think they have a real shot to compete with T-Mobile at all, to be honest. Guys, this is 200 East 59th Street. This is a new development. And doesn't it look like something you would see on Collins Avenue in Miami? It's a white building. Every unit has a balcony. That's really not something you would see in New York. That's something you see in Miami. It's interesting to see. Sarah says, why don't people love WhatsApp more? No cell, just Wi-Fi. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say that people don't like it. Now, at the company I work for now, we are all on WhatsApp. Everything is these WhatsApp group chats. Everything. So we pretty much run our entire business on WhatsApp. Now, WhatsApp is owned by Meta, is that right? I think our good friend Zuckerberg owns that. Ooh, I think it may start to rain. Just felt a raindrop. Hey, who dat Dave? What's up, Dave? Trust you're well, good to see you. Yeah, New England Crypto right here on the corner of East 59th Street and 3rd Avenue. That's a Home Depot. It's actually a pretty good Home Depot too. It goes down one story into the ground. It's actually a pretty good store. They keep it clean in there. It's good. Joseph Hardaway, what's going on? Good to see you. Wise Owl says or AT&T has no growth left into it. Ah, very good, Dutchman. Yeah, Taiwan Semi opening up more manufacturing capacity. Intel just doesn't really have any innovation anymore. They've essentially killed all the innovation out of that company. Now, the last thing I'll say about AT&T, right, kind of piggybacking off of Wise Owl's comment there, I just want to quickly show you guys one more view of this building. It's so unique, it quite literally looks like something you would see in Miami. A complete white facade with balconies on every unit. Kind of looks out of place. But, so if you think about T-Mobile as a company, right? What would you say is T-Mobile's strength? Right, what is their main strength when you think about T-Mobile? Well, when I think about T-Mobile, I think about retail, right? I think about consumers. And when I mean retail, I mean people like me, people like you watching this broadcast, more consumer, not really corporate. So T-Mobile has totally dominated, for the most part, the retail sector, right? Family plans, just regular people using devices and things like that. While Verizon and AT&T historically have dominated more corporate in terms of medium-sized businesses, Fortune 500, Fortune 50 style companies. Now, that's changing, right? That is changing. And you're starting to see larger companies, larger corporations start to shift away from, the legacy Verizon and AT&T. And T-Mobile is really starting to win the lion's share of that business. They really, really are. So slowly but surely. So to your point, I do think that T-Mobile has the majority of the growth engine there. One thing I will say is that T-Mobile just needs a little bit better, well, a lot better, pure play IoT platform. Right now, it doesn't really have a full, robust, I should say, Fortune 500 capable IoT platform. It just doesn't have it yet. So hopefully the engineers are hard at work building that. Wise Owl says T-Mobile is an affordable consumer option compared to Verizon and AT&T. Well, this will be an interesting question in the chat. How many viewers, assuming you're in the United States, how many people here have T-Mobile as their carrier? I actually don't have T-Mobile. I have Verizon. Mainly because what I've found specifically in Manhattan, in the city, and in Miami, I feel as if Verizon is more reliable broad-based for live streaming. Yeah, Sarah says they also have $50 a month home Wi-Fi. I also think they're trying to deploy
So we got in early.
5G at home internet. Alan says I'm a T-Mobile customer. Sarah says I do. Lisa says T-Mobile here. Hey Elias, thank you so much for the well wishes. Neil Gunn says Verizon. DC322 says Verizon customer since 2006. Brad says Verizon company provided phone. Jamie Price says I've been with T-Mobile since 2017. Okay, so not as many T-Mobile people as I would have imagined. Wow, check this out. Really cool shot of the skyline here from 2nd Avenue, overlooking 432 Park. Emma G says I had T-Mobile years ago. Yeah, I mean, look, I think they're the best positioned. We'll see if this bid for U.S. Cellular comes to fruition. We'll see. Should be interesting to follow that news. But let's make a left here on 57th Street. And this is going to take us directly into Sutton Place. It should.
What's up, vlog?
Hey, what's up, Meld? Good to see you. Now, at the very, very beginning of the broadcast, we were briefly talking about Cava and its earnings report. This is a stock I've initiated coverage on, and I think earnings were quite well. I think earnings went quite well. If I had to pick out a negative spot in the earnings report, is that same-store sales were up, but much of the increase in same-store sales was attributed to, guess what? Can anybody guess? I'll give you a hint. This is like the topic of the entire economy right now. This is the entrance to the Queensboro Bridge. Yeah, Sarah, you're right. Increased prices, which is a problem. However, if you go to the investor relations page or Cava's investor relations page, the CEO came out and made a statement, and he's like, industry-wide, right? Consumers are starting to cut back on spending, right? Broad-based. But what he said is, consumers are choosing to spend the dollars that they're cutting back on by shopping and going to Cava. So yes, same-store sales were up, but some of that had to do with increased prices. Although overall, revenues beat expectations. So they beat on both the top and the bottom line. And the main thing I look for, right, and we always talk about this, and yes, the stock is, I would say, quite frothy price, but it's a new IPO, and the market's a little bit giddy about, quote-unquote, air quotes here, finding the next Chipotle. But I will say this, this was a check mark on what I like to call a beat and raise quarter. So just to quickly review what a beat and raise is, let's say, for example, if Wall Street is expecting $1 worth of EPS on $1 billion in revenue, and if a company says, well, we just reported $1.25 worth of EPS on $1.5 billion in revenue, that would be a beat on both the top and the bottom line. And then if management makes a forward-looking statement saying, you know what, demand seems strong, we're opening more stores than we expected, we're going to go ahead and raise forward guidance. And that's exactly what they did this afternoon on the earnings call at 5 p.m. Every single forward-looking metric in terms of the category, look at this roach. Every single forward-looking metric in terms of same-store sales growth, number of stores that they expect to open for the fiscal year 2024, gross margins, and adjusted EBITDA, all raised for not only the next quarter, but the entire fiscal year. So this was a textbook beat and raise quarter. So this is one to watch. I know, right? Very seldom have we been seeing roaches on the stream. Maybe just because the weather's been so bad, but maybe that it's warming up, the roaches are coming out of the woodwork. But as I was saying before, you could literally see the pollen floating around in the city today. It got my eyes and my nose going crazy. Oof, Saris's roaches in North Carolina fly. Yikes. Well, to be fair, those are called the palmetto bugs, right? I think we have those in Florida too. However, not for nothing, in Miami, before I moved to Miami, everybody told me, oh my God, I don't know how you can move to Florida. You're gonna have so many palmetto bugs all over the place. They're gonna be crawling on your window, they're gonna be all over your door. I haven't seen not one single roach or palmetto bug in Florida. Now maybe that's because there's so many iguanas. For those of you, hold on, we just reached Sutton Place. Totally forgot to narrate this. Everybody, here we are at Sutton Place. Very quiet, very beautiful neighborhood. Sutton Place is very well known for its co-ops. You're about a 15-minute walk into the heart of Midtown Manhattan on Park Avenue, but you're pretty much away from all the craziness. So the first thing I want to do is take you all to Sutton Place Park, which is just going to be up and to the right here, and then I want to take you all the way down to the very, very start of Sutton Place, and then we're going to take a walk on that new elevated park. I just kind of wanted to get away from Midtown Manhattan tonight, just because I'm a little bit tired. Hey, Austin City Limits, good to see you. But anyway, for those of you who are familiar with Miami, you're probably familiar with these massive iguanas that we have that apparently eat all of the roaches. Also a lot of stray cats too. Now check out the beautiful architecture and the facades on these townhomes here. Really beautiful townhouses. Many of them have been converted into single-family homes. I'll give you an interesting piece of New York City real estate data for you guys, a little bit of an inside scoop. Now, we could all agree, right? I'm sure we could unanimously agree that these townhomes are just absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it's just extremely beautiful. From the facades, to inside, they're just really stunning pieces of property. However, did you know that townhomes are not performing well at all in terms of price appreciation? Many of them, particularly the single-family townhouses, have actually gone down in value over the last couple of years. Anybody want to know why? And we've actually had a few customers or a few clients kind of note this. But with all of the, I should say, pickup in visible crime, right? And I don't want to debate the crime stats and the statistics, but the impression of crime, coming out of the pandemic, the dirtiness of the city has really scared a lot of people, and they have chosen to buy in a condo or a co-op with a doorman for enhanced security, as opposed to buying a single family home where you don't have any of that. Very interesting predicament. So like all things that we talk about on the live broadcast, uncertainty creates price instability or volatility, and that creates mispricing in the marketplace. So if I had to bet, right, just for fun, if I had to make a little bet here as we're overlooking the 59th Street Bridge, I think it would probably be a good trade maybe to pick up a townhome for a discount and trade up and roll out of that deal in 5 to 10 years when the appearance, or the perception, I should say, of the city rebounds. Because, I mean, look at how beautiful these townhouses are. I think we could all agree. And the crime in the city is not a fixed variable, right? That is going to change. It's already changing for the better. And I think that's a pretty good trade. It's kind of like the classic, saying, buy when there's blood in the streets, even if it's your own blood. Talking about New York City, maybe quite literally. Anyway. Guys, what do you think of this view? Beautiful, beautiful view here overlooking the 59th Street Bridge. But here's where we're going to go next. And I'm really excited to take you all here. We've been here many times. We do have a lot of new people here. This is a brand new elevated park that sits right along the East River. It's actually elevated above the river, right next to the highway. It's really pretty. You could overlook Roosevelt Island, as well as Long Island City, Queens. And if we extend the camera a little bit over, you can see even further all the way down to Brooklyn. What do you guys think? So we're right on the corner here of Sutton Square and Riverview Terrace. This is Sutton Place Park. You have park benches to kind of hang out here and sit down. I mean, imagine waking up and grabbing your newspaper, grabbing a cup of coffee, and sitting down on the bench watching the sunrise here. It's like this is like an amazing hidden gem. If you're a tourist, don't go to all the touristy places in the city. Come to some of these outskirts. It's quite nice. All right, let's go to that park. We'll head up, out, and around. Hey, DM, good to see you. Yeah, it is. It's super peaceful. It's kind of nice to get out of the, crazy area of Midtown and kind of be in a nice, calm, quaint neighborhood here. Now this patch of townhomes actually has a gated private driveway, which is quite nice. Hey, Dave. Western Mass Dave, right on time. We were just checking out Sutton Place Park. Then we're going to double back and go to the elevated East River Park. Now, I'm happy that this is summertime now, because you could actually enjoy this neighborhood. It's quite cold and windy in the winter, but you may be looking at this broadcast saying, wow, this seems like a really nice neighborhood. It seems really beautiful. It must be super expensive here. Yes and no. And I'll kind of tell you what I'm talking about. Sutton Place, over the last 10 years, has actually kind of fallen out of fashion with New Yorkers. And prices have actually declined all but substantially. Particularly because there's a high concentration of co-ops here. And in general, throughout the city, there's been a big narrative change that many people are now preferring condos to co-ops for multiple different reasons. Especially, amenities, ease of use, things like that. But check this out, look at that. I mean, this is a pretty good view now that we're standing a little bit further back from these townhouses. I mean, the facades are just quite stunning on here. Look at that. I mean, if you just joined this broadcast and you didn't read the description, probably be pretty hard to tell that you're even in New York City, looking at these buildings right here, but you are. In any event, I'll cut right to the chase. On a price per square foot basis, you can find a pretty spacious co-op here in Sutton Place for around $1,000 a square foot. On the low end. I think in a fire sale price, you may be able to get like $950 a foot. But this is a nice neighborhood. It's quiet, it's safe, it's very clean, as you could tell. It has a lot of charm, it has a lot of character. So maybe if you're looking to move to a specific location in the city, you want it quiet, you want to be away from all the hustle and bustle of Midtown, while still being in walking distance of Midtown Park Avenue, where you can maybe walk to the office. Maybe this is probably, a neighborhood to consider. You never know. And you'll be buying at a discount relative to what it usually trades at. Now, a big selling point of the neighborhood now is exactly what I'm about to take you to right now. It's the new park. We just have to cross 57th Street towards the south side, and then we'll go ahead and get on the park, and we will exit at 59th Street. We've walked it many times, but we do have some new people here, so might as well give it another go while the weather is permitting. Hey, sunshine after rain, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. New England Crypto says, please explain what a co-op is. So the main difference is you're essentially owning shares in a corporation. You don't own the physical property, if that makes sense. So in a condo, you own it, you get a deed. Oh my gosh. In a cooperative, right, it's a co-op, you're essentially purchasing shares in a corporation. So it's just a different structure. Now, what that means is it tends to be a little bit more strict. Getting a client to pass one of these co-op boards or to get approved through a co-op board, depending on the co-op it can be pretty difficult, right? They have very steep income requirements. Sometimes they don't even allow, like let's say if you want to put 10% down on the property, right? Which is commonplace in condos.
Some co-ops you can't do that. Some of them require 50% down as a minimum. And if we look back to 2008, right, if we just kind of do a little bit of a walk down memory lane to the great financial crisis, there's many economists that say the reason why New York City or Manhattan was a little bit isolated in terms of the price declines during the financial crisis was because there's a very, very high concentration of co-ops excuse me, in Manhattan. Now, why would this be? Well, if you look at the markets that declined or went down the most at the financial crisis, let's actually take a look at this park first. Just opened. I should say just reopened. It was the markets where people were buying homes that they couldn't afford, right? They were sometimes putting no money down, maybe 10% down. They couldn't afford the payments. It's still closed, but another really nice park here. They probably close it at dusk, but still you could sit down on the bench, overlook Queens. But with the co-op, if everybody has very, very strict requirements, 50% down, or you have to buy the property in cash, no financing, well, it's kind of hard to default on that, right? If you have a whole building filled with people that are very, very highly qualified, high incomes, and put a lot of money down on the property. You'll notice the markets that decline the most, like Miami, submarkets of Texas, submarkets of Nevada, particularly Vegas. Those markets really, really got creamed because there were second and third home buyers. And there was very little income verification. The underwriting standards were absolutely abysmal, if there were any. So, again, not proven, but they say that the reason why what saved Manhattan during the financial crisis is the very high concentration of co-ops. Okay, this is what I'm most excited about, everybody. Check this out. This is fantastic. So right here, you can see the bike lane. Brand new bike lane. Right here at 54th Street. This will bring you right to the new park. Operating hours 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. This is all brand new back here too. Hey Elias, what's up? Gustavo is here. Dutchman AZ, Gary Carpenter, what's up? JK. Melds, this is the High Line open. It is open, yeah. All right, check it out. Here we go. If you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video. And hit the subscribe button if you're new. We do these live broadcasts every single day starting at 8:30. So here's the walking bridge. It's actually going to take you over the highway, and it's going to connect you to the new park, which is quite literally elevated over the river. Check that out. Isn't that kind of cool? And this is all brand new and remodeled too, this whole park. Hey, JJC Test. This is Bonjour, Tom. Bonjour to you. Checking out the new park, the Greenway. This is a huge added perk to living on the east side, and not a lot of people know about it yet. So right now we're quite literally suspended above the water. And you have that view of the 59th Street Bridge. Hey, Shannon says, did I see the Manhattan Henge today? I didn't, unfortunately. I was too busy being cooped up in my office. Unfortunately. I would like to see it though. Look at all those dogs. All right, let's continue the journey. You'll also see the Coca-Cola sign. You'll see a little bit of it. You'll see a little piece of it. You'll see the spire of the World Trade Center. You'll see the United Nations. You can see the Williamsburg Bridge. I mean, you pretty much have a lot of exposure here. All right, this right here is the spire of One World Trade Center. This is a direct view of Williamsburg Bridge, as well as the Brooklyn Tower, which is in a little bit of financial trouble, actually. It's probably going to go under. And then you have the Pepsi Cola sign. Sitting there in the distance. I really love it up here. It's like such a cool spot. And the water's moving pretty fast. Doesn't seem like it, but if you look really close, this thing is moving, man. All right, let's continue on our way down. Well, on our way up, I should say. And one thing I like the way they kind of engineered this, you have a dedicated bike lane going north and south right here. And then you have a dedicated pedestrian walk path completely separate from the cyclists to avoid any conflict or confrontation, so to speak. Similar to what you saw on the Brooklyn Bridge, which was a horror show, a disaster. But they've even fixed that. If you've been to the Brooklyn Bridge recently, they've totally separated the cyclists from the pedestrian walkway. So if you haven't been to the Brooklyn Bridge, let's say 2020 on, well, when you come back, it's probably going to be a lot more pleasant of an experience for you, because the upper level of the bridge is dedicated solely for pedestrians, and the lower level now is a dedicated bike lane, which is perfect. T-Counts is getting an e-bike. I don't know, I feel as if I don't really need it in Manhattan. It's always freaked me out. Guys, look at this. So here you have the highway, and then all the buildings are suspended above the highway. Kind of wild, right? I mean, it's obviously secure. Oh, look at this beagle. Little beagle. It almost looks like it's a mixed breed of some sort. It's definitely an older beagle, for sure. Yeah, it's like everything is held up on little stilts. Hopefully the buildings department is up to date on that. Yeah, Zubin says those residents are breathing in fumes constantly. That's true. But I guess you could say that about any kind of living in Manhattan. I mean, even on Billionaires Row, 57th Street, that's one of the most trafficked streets in the city. But you know what is interesting, to Zubin's point? Like, you have the major on-ramp here, right? Now imagine living in this apartment. You must feel vibrations from the street at all hours of the day. You just have to. It's impossible that you don't feel a little bit of vibration from the highway underneath. Who knows, maybe some people like it. It's a little bit of white noise, but I think that's probably a deal breaker for me, honestly. I don't know if I want to live in a building that's suspended directly over the highway. What do you guys think? Would you want to live in the building suspended over the highway? Or you could just live in one of these that are right on the highway but not suspended over it. I think for me it's probably a deal breaker a little bit. All right, the 57th Street marker. Now this is going to be pretty cool because we're going to walk directly under the 59th Street Bridge. Now here's how this thing works. On the bike lane, you have your drainage right here. So the water goes down under the concrete and into all the soil, which is here. It sustains the vegetation and then it drains down. It's pretty cool. It's like a self-sustaining ecosystem up here. Hey, Ryan Beck, what's up, man? Good to see you. We were just talking about covering Cava's earnings report today. They beat on both the top and the bottom line, raised forward guidance. Now, this is where we just were. So if you rewind the stream probably about 20 minutes or so, this is the East River Park, or excuse me, this is Sutton Place Park where we were standing, right here. Ryan Beck says, love Cava, good for them. Yeah, it seems to be a very, very popular place and a growing Mediterranean spot. Now, I've initiated coverage on the stock about 2 months ago now. It's a newer IPO, kind of coming out of an IPO base. It's a little frothy in terms of its valuation, but usually all high growth companies trade at nosebleed valuations. But every single metric, they've raised guidance for the full fiscal year. In terms of how many stores they're going to add, in terms of profit margins. You know, Cava has, I think, 26% margins. It's really, really high. Now, if you can achieve that at scale, right, if you could open 1,000 stores, 2,000 stores, while maintaining 25% margins, you know, if they're already producing net income, right, which is profitability, right? Net income is profit. We're not talking EBITDA. That thing could potentially be a pretty big cash cow in the next few years. So, watching it closely. Oh, here it is. You can see the Roosevelt Island tram. We are now standing directly under the 59th Street Bridge. Hawaii says you rode that, pretty cool views. I've never been on it. We'll have to live stream over it this summer. Nikki says Cava forward PE is sky high. Yeah, it's very, very high, but like if you look at any company in a super high growth turbocharged phase, all of them trade at a ridiculous, like nosebleed ridiculous forward PE. I think with Cava they're like at 300, something wild. But yeah, a lot of those high growth companies do, because essentially the market is a discounting mechanism into the future. And if the market says, hey, this thing can really, really scale while maintaining its margins, and while being profitable and expanding its stores to scalability, essentially the stock is the market is assigning the stock's value of what it's going to be in the future. So yes, it is, on a valuation basis, it's sky high. And it's a newer IPO, it's a newer issue. And usually, by the way, I don't pay attention to new IPOs. Usually, for the most part. I usually like to give the company a little bit of time. It's not a brand spanking new IPO, but it's new-ish, it's newer. It's emerging out of an IPO base. And, oh, look at that rat. Yeah, see that? He's scurrying his way through. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is I'm going to continue to cover the stock, continue to watch the company, and if they can continue to beat and raise, the law of 6 to 8 beat and raise quarters, could be a future TML. So long as they continue to beat Wall Street's expectations and raise that guidance and actually hit on their roadmap and do what they say they're going to do. Now, a concern that we've talked about a little bit earlier in the live stream was that, yes, same-store sales growth increased, but part of the increase in same-store sales didn't come from organic growth. It came from increased prices. Story of our lives, right? Inflation. So yeah, this is all brand new. All nice seating here. Hey, what's up, MBA Elias? We're checking out the brand new New York City East River Greenway. You guys are seeing this before many people have ever seen it, which is pretty cool. Now, I'll take you to the observation deck. Yeah, Rhinebeck Wingstop's another TML. Just a monster stock. Now, I believe Wingstop is a franchisee, so they do franchises. Cava is all corporate at this point. And I believe there's a very famous rapper, Rick Ross, I believe, owns a fair amount of Wingstop locations. All right, everybody, we are now on the observation deck here. And then this is looking down on where we just were. Here they even have built-in chess and checkers tables. But it's cool because you can sit down on these chairs here that are strapped in, and you can take in these cool views. I actually may sit down right now. Yeah, Ryan Bex, as I would say, this is a rare instance of taxpayer dollars being put to good use. I agree. I think this is a great place. I think what makes New York the greatest city on earth is its walkability and its culture. And in order to maintain that stance, I think you need more places for people to congregate outside for free. You know, even if you have a little $2,000 a month apartment on the Upper East Side, come over here at night, hang out on a summer night. Let's see if we can see anybody in the Roosevelt Island tram. .360 says, hey, I notice your videos are always late. Is it because you're working during the day? Yes. So we're working during the day, we hang out with all of you guys at night. So thanks for hanging out. Appreciate it. Thank you for being here. And we just recently hit 50,000 people that are now members of Walks on Wall Street, which is crazy. And I think this is really fun. We built a pretty cool thing here, so thank you everybody for joining us and subscribing. You have checkers, chessboards. I'll probably have to come back here at sunrise and sunset and film like a standalone walk around. And then this is looking back at 432 Park Avenue in the distance. Now, I was watching a video of the Manhattan Borough President. He did like a big, announcement due to the opening of the East River Greenway. And the goal is to make a continuous loop all around the entire island of Manhattan, which is going to be friggin' awesome. Like, can you imagine that? Apparently, by the year 2026, the city has plans to complete the entire loop where you'll never have to go back onto the physical island of Manhattan. So you'll be able to run, walk, have a bike ride around the entire perimeter of Manhattan. The day that opens, we're going to do a dedicated stream walking around the entire Greenway. I mean, that's a sick run. I mean, could you imagine working all week? You get up early on a Saturday morning, like it's 6 o'clock in the morning, and you do a crazy run around the entire island of Manhattan. That's awesome. Now, if we have any runners here or cyclists, I'll give you a little bit of a hint or a tip. One of my favorite running routes in all of New York City, and you got to do it if you come here and you visit, or if you're moving here. I used to do this all the time when my dad used to work at the Brooklyn Navy Yard. He used to work at that power plant right in the Navy Yard. This was a long time ago. You run over the Manhattan Bridge, through Chinatown, right on that path by the river. Another roach. It's summer, roaches are coming out. So you go all the way down over the Brooklyn Bridge and around by the Navy Yard to complete that entire loop. That is the craziest, most iconic, breathtaking sightseeing run you could ever do. Brooklyn Navy Yard over the Manhattan Bridge, drops you off in Chinatown, run to the Brooklyn Bridge, run over the Brooklyn Bridge, and loop back around to the Navy Yard. Insane view. Now, I used to do that when they were building the World Trade Center. This was before One World Trade Center was even built. So you could quite literally watch it being constructed back in the day. This is like 2010, 2011, 2012. And here we are, right back in Sutton Place. Right here. I would say New York City is really good for marathon training because it's not just flat. A lot of people think that, you know, if you run in New York, it's all flat terrain. That is not true at all. During my college soccer days, our coach would have us go to the heights, Hamilton Heights, Washington Heights. I mean, you're running up hills like this. That is a sick workout. All the way up there by City College. That's tough. That's a really, really tough gradient. Hey, Sabrina Fair, good to see you. Oh, cool. Sam says I just did the Buffalo half marathon on Sunday. How was that race? Any big hills in Buffalo? Has to be, I assume. All right, let's start to head back in towards Midtown. We'll wait for the light, but look, not a lot of through traffic in Sutton Place. Hey, Bernard Conte. This is Good Evening Tom from Madison, Wisconsin. Thank you so much. This is I had the great honor to cycle the 5 boroughs in New York many years ago. So did you do the 5 borough bike tour? It's pretty popular and very fun too. Hopefully you'll be able to make your way back to New York and do it again soon. Ryan Beck says it's hard to beat a run in Central Park, for sure. But you know what's very underrated? A lot of people overlook this. Riverside Park. It's a pretty incredible running route there if you go up through 103rd Street. So right at 103rd Street, that's where they have the soccer fields. And it's kind of like they built them in like a tiered environment. So you have this massive kind of brick wall, and then you probably look down about 20, 30 feet, and then you have the soccer fields right on the Hudson River. And all winding and weaving through Riverside Park is the bike path and the running path, which is crazy. It's awesome. I think that's probably the biggest reason why I prefer the Upper West Side to the Upper East Side, is because you have Riverside Park and you have Central Park. But now with this new East River Greenway, I guess you kind of have your other option for a park now. I still like the Upper West Side a little bit better. This is the iconic Sutton wine shop. I think we're good. Now, a quick announcement, tomorrow. Oh my God, look at this. This place Neary's, I never even knew it was here. But look at how beautiful that bar is in there. It's like a classic, kind of reminds me of the bar that my great-grandfather owned in Manhattan from seeing in pictures. You have that really classic kind of like red oak, kind of like bar there, all the wood paneling. That's OG classic New York right there. But anyway, so tomorrow we will be live from hopefully Lower Manhattan. But then the next day, Thursday, we will be live from downtown Miami. And we will be in South Florida until June 6th or the 5th. 5th or the 6th. Just depends. Yeah, Western Mass. Dave's has learned something new every day. Yeah, I thought I told you guys that story. My great-grandfather used to own speakeasy bars during the Prohibition era in and around Times Square. The Hannon family bars. And we used to have these really cool photos of my great-grandfather behind the bar, and you would have a bunch of NYPD, like police, and then a lot of the gangsters, like Jip the Blood, who's one of them, has a photo there. Way, way back in the day. All right, 2nd Avenue. Hey, welcome all of our viewers from Venezuela. Good to see you. Now this is a pretty cool shot too. Look at that. You can see the spire of the Chrysler building a little bit, just a little bit. Oh, cool. So we just arrived back in Toronto after spending 5 days in Manhattan. Love that. Totally amazing. Over 30,000 steps each day, sore legs, and extremely worth it. Yeah, I'm telling you, when you're in the city, when you're in Manhattan, you could bang out like a half marathon every day, and you don't really even notice it too much, just because there's something on every block. Walking 13 miles in the suburbs where it's just house after house after house, it's going to be grueling and it's going to be exhausting. But walking 13 miles in the city, it's kind of like you don't even realize it. Well, that's awesome. Hopefully you can make a second trip back before the summer ends. Travis says, Tom, can you do stream down 41st Street in Miami? Yes, let me take a screenshot of that. Oops. So I can remember. 41st Street. So that's Mid-Beach, right? Mid-Beach, Miami. Now, 41st Street, why does that ring a bell to me? You know, I think right on the corner there, they're building the brand new Amman Miami Beach. Could someone Google that? I don't know if that's, I think that's 41st Street. So just like they have in Amman, New York at 57th Street and 5th Avenue, they're building one in Miami Beach. And I think it's right on the corner there. I'm not too sure, but that is an awesome neighborhood, Mid-Beach. So it's funny that you mention that, because not tomorrow, but the next day, I'm gonna upload a video of kind of what I call an underexplored neighborhood in Miami. So if you want to be very, very close to the beach, but you don't want to have all the noise of Collins Avenue and South Beach, there's a neighborhood called Bayshore. Hold that thought. I want to show you the Lipstick Building. Now, this building right here, this one, this is called the Lipstick Building. And that is where Bernie Madoff ran his Ponzi scheme. So there's this neighborhood called Bayshore, and it's kind of like a secluded, it's not private, but it's like a secluded single family community. The homes are freaking unbelievable, beautiful, beautiful homes. And there's a little walking connector bridge that'll take you over the river to Indian Creek Drive, and then it's 3 blocks to the water. So it's kind of like you have best of both worlds. If you don't want to live in a condo, if you want to live in a single family home, you want to be walking distance to all the action, but you want to be able to come home and have radio silence away from all the craziness of Collins Avenue. Check out that neighborhood, Bayshore. Thursday evening, I'll be uploading that video. It's beautiful, really, really beautiful. If you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. We do these live streams every day starting at 8:30, usually. Now, I'll give you guys a little bit of commercial real estate news here. You see this building on the corner of East 57th Street and Lexington Avenue? You see this? This is about to go into foreclosure. You didn't hear it from me. Peters is the Amman in Miami Beach is on Collins Avenue. Do you know the cross street? NBA Lions, Tom, I hope the humidity is not too bad in Miami. Phoenix business trip, and we got greeted with 106 degrees. Holy crap. Yeah, I mean, Miami's a little bit different, right? I mean, it's freaking hot in Miami, but it's not that dry heat like you have in Nevada or you have in Arizona. It actually kind of feels nice. I did see that. Neil Kashkari says inflation is going to remain hot indefinitely. 3% is the new normal, which will also mean, by the way, the economy will probably continue to do really good. Ethan G says, Tom, why do you like humidity? I don't like things being dry all the time. When it's humid, your skin feels good, your body feels good, you just feel good when it's humid. You know, when it's dry, you feel like death. Like when you go to Florida, your skin is like glowing. You have this glow when you're in Miami. Oh, what happened here? Park Avenue's closed down, half of it. All right, the Aston Martin. Speaking of South Florida, the Aston Martin Residences is about to be open for business. They have just recently extended that Miami Riverwalk, and it looks pretty good too. Now, isn't this Formula One thing going on right now in Monaco? What's the big race that's going on right now in Monaco? Isn't something going on over there? Peters is Amman is on 35th Street, so it's not on 45th. It's close. It's definitely close. Mikey says it was over this past weekend in Monaco. Now, talking about expensive real estate, I think Monaco is one of the most expensive places in the world. I mean, if you think New York is expensive, Monaco is crazy expensive. Now, I will say this, and maybe this is a hot take. I actually want your opinion on this, everybody in the chat. I don't understand racing. I'm not knocking it. I know everybody has their own tastes and own interests. I just don't get it. I don't get it. The whole Formula One thing, it's so much money. My friend sent me the pricing of what it costs to purchase a ticket when the F1 event was in Miami. I mean, you're talking about thousands of dollars. I don't get it. I don't see why people like it. Maybe it's just like a networking thing for the super wealthy, I guess. All right, you gotta plug in the phone. Points Traveler says it's all about gambling. Maybe. Someone says fast cars are cool, not hard to get. No, I mean, I get it, but now here we are right back at 432 Park. That's crazy. Peter says Monaco is slightly smaller than Central Park, so it is crazy expensive. Imagine Manhattan being crammed into the size of Central Park. For sure, supply and demand. Now, where do you think you get the best bang for your buck? In terms, let's say if you were going to retire as an American and you want to live overseas. I was reading this Wall Street Journal article. My boss actually sent it to me the other day. I don't know if this is like hyperbolic sensationalism. But apparently countries like Mexico are deporting US citizens because Americans, they'll bank like $1 or $2 million and they'll say, look, I want an early retirement. I'll go move to Mexico and, you know, actually can afford to live and sustain myself. But the Mexican people are kind of getting pissed off because, and I get it, rightfully so, right? I mean, you have all these Americans coming there, pushing up the price of everything because they come there with, you know, $2 or $3 million and they want to retire not in the United States because it's so expensive here, you know, in terms of the cost of living. Let's see if we can go through here. I don't know, my friend is in the military, and I recently saw him again after many, many years at the wedding I was just at. And he was deployed in Spain, and then he was deployed in Italy, southern Italy. And he said the quality of life compared to America is like, it's just night and day. Everything is so much more laid back. It's affordable. You know, you can get like a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment. You don't have to break the bank. It's crazy. And to top it all off, the US dollar is pretty strong right now, historically speaking. So it's actually not a bad time to go vacation in Europe or go vacation in Latin America. Your dollar is going to go a lot further. So we're outside the Trump Tower, everybody, and you can see all the Secret Service here because the Donald is in town. I always like looking at the license plates. You can see the DHS plates as we are surveilling the DHS vehicles. They're probably quite literally listening to every word we're saying. They probably have this place tricked out with cameras. But we mean no harm. Honestly though, I was thinking about that today. Every time I walk down 56th Street, there's probably a condo room in the Trump Tower dedicated to just surveillance. And they could probably see every single person, every single facial detail of everybody that walks past Trump Tower. With the amount of surveillance that Secret Service has to do here, it's probably nuts. NBA Elias, property is a great value in Mexico. Healthcare is awful. Is it awful? Everyone's saying Monaco is all about money laundering. Perhaps. So here's the Amman, New York, and they're building in Amman, Miami. Sabrina Fair. Now, to your point about Italy, my friend's apartment, he says it was built in the late 1700s. Now, obviously, it's had updates and renovations, but the apartment he was living in when he was deployed overseas in Italy was built in the late 1700s. how much is it for one night at the Trump Hotel. So the Trump International Hotel and Tower, probably like $700 for the cheapest room, I'd say. Maybe $700, $800 a night. Now I will say, One Central Park West, the Trump International Hotel and Tower, regardless of what you think of the guy, if you like Trump, don't like Trump, that is one of the best hotels in the city, hands down by far. The place is unbelievable. It's just unreal. Now, the reason why it's so unbelievable is because they make it like an apartment. So it has full kitchen, right? Not like a little kitchenette, it's a full kitchen. You know, it has 6 to 8 burner gas range, huge sub-zero freezer and refrigerator, dining room. It's physically like a 1-bedroom apartment. Almost every single room in there. There's some studios, but every single room has a full kitchen, and everything is top of the line. Everything is super clean. It's an awesome property. It's a really good property, and I mean, you have the best views in the city. You're overlooking Central Park. You're overlooking Columbus Circle. It's right next to 15 Central Park West, which is one of the most iconic addresses in Manhattan. It's a good property. It's a really good property. And you have a Michelin star restaurant right there too. Jean George, which is now open in the Tin Building. (52nd Street), headed southbound. Points Travelers' House Trump Hotel in Miami. I don't know. I've never stayed there. I don't know. Here's the beautiful St. Patrick's Cathedral. I've been seeing a lot of people collecting cans lately as we make our way down to 34th Street, right there on the corner of Herald Square. At this time of the night, it's a massive line stretched all the way down to 5th Avenue of just cans and cans. It's like thousands of cans. Kind of sucks to see, people down on their luck like that. Hey, hang with Mark Mom, good to see you. We're just making our way back from Sutton Place. Cava as they reported earnings today. Another beat and raise quarter. And we also talked about NVIDIA a little bit. Another big day for NVIDIA to the upside, but that's actually not good news. I think these are exhaustion gaps. That's kind of what you see after these climactic runs. The stock will gap up 3 consecutive days on higher volume. So maybe we'll go into a little bit of a correction or dormancy in the NVIDIA, who knows? You know, things could stay irrational much longer than you'd expect, but if you look at the last 3 days of trading, you see those gaps, a lot of gapping action. There's Lululemon. Now, Lululemon was a former true market leader that's been really falling out of favor with the market. I think that's going through its corrective phase now. NBA Live's stock split coming from NVIDIA. Yeah, 50-1, right? We also covered ELF after another really, really solid earnings report last week. Hey, let's just go to the Rangers viewing party. Sure. I'm assuming that's at Madison Square Garden. That's where we're headed. I think those 3-wheeled things are called slingshots. Those things are all over Miami. So we're going to be adding a new feature to the website soon. So what we're trying to do is integrate all of our property tours to all of our listings on the website. So maybe you guys can be the first ones to kind of beta test this. This is probably going to roll out over the next 2 weeks. But if you type !Thomas, THOMAS in the chat, it's going to drop the link to my bio on our website. And if you scroll down on my bio, you'll see all of our listings, all the listings that we're on. In about 2 weeks, assuming I get around to filming all these tours, you're going to be able to click on the listing and it's going to bring you to it's going to be a hyperlink that'll bring you first to the tours. So you'll be able to not only see all the listing description, but when you click on it, it'll bring you right to the video tours, which I think will be pretty cool because I feel as if video is a little bit more visual. Ooh, another roach. Particularly the unedited, one-take, wide-angle lens to kind of get a real perspective of what it's like to be in the property. So lots of interesting stuff coming, and maybe you guys could be the first ones to test it out. So is a new development too. There's gonna be condos. We're in the endless maze of scaffolding. Hey Gary, thank you so much for joining us. Have a good night. Here we're back at 42nd Street. Hey RC, thank you so much. Have a great night. We'll see you later. Now tomorrow I'm going to be posting our updated schedule. You might as well head down here since we have the light. I'll probably post that around 2 o'clock, maybe 2 or 3 o'clock. We do have a lot of new people here, which I appreciate. Thank you, everybody. So tomorrow on our community page, we'll be posting our most updated schedule. So we'll do the live streams per normal, 7 days a week, starting at 8:45. But every other day, starting at 5:15. That's when we'll upload our 4K standalone neighborhood tours around Miami and New York City. Speaking of Cava, there's Cava right here. So we'll do every other day, kind of walking around the neighborhood, picking one, explaining a lot of the new developments, talking about the real estate there, and then we'll do the live stream per normal. Hang with Mark Bombs, Tom, Lower Manhattan tomorrow, my hometown. I'm really gonna try to make it down there. I'll say this, if it's nice weather tomorrow, we will be down there for sure, for certain. We'll probably start the broadcast from Zuccotti Park. Look at how nice this bar is. Look at that. Really nice. Overlooking Bryant Park. All right, everybody, but we're coming up on the 2-hour mark. And I have got to head home and go to sleep. It was an early start today. So if you guys enjoyed the live stream, please leave a like on the video. Click the subscribe button if you're new. And we will see you all right back here tomorrow, starting at 8:45, live from Lower Manhattan. So we'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a wonderful night. Be safe. Always a bull market somewhere. You just need to know where to look. See you all very soon. Take care. I might as well leave you off with a good view of the Empire. It is lit up in red, white, and blue tonight. NBA Elias, DM, No Mikey, Darren, Hawaii, Western Mass, Dave, hang with Mark, Mom. Thanks everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow.